Let me introduce myself first. I am Devajit from Cherry. I work with Cherry as leading the Rural Energy and Livelihood Division, and I've been working in this renewable energy space for more than 2 decades now. So it's a privilege for me to moderate this session at the World Wind Energy Conference 2021. And the track that I have been asked to moderate is something which is very close to my heart on community energy, off-grid, mini-grid, and microgrid. So this is an area where I think a lot of work has been done, needs to be done, and lessons that can be learned and replicated in different countries. In India, for example, we started the mini grid way back in 1992, the early 1990s, of course with solar, but uh, not many might be knowing that during the same time, there was an organization called Northeastern Council in which is covering the northeastern parts of India, comprising of 7 states, and they have been supporting renewable energy before the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy even started to work on some of these rural-based solar interventions. And I remember we were on evaluating a project for the Northeastern Council, and there was a project on wind energy in the remote border with Myanmar in a village called Kongthong, which was, I think, a 2 kilowatt wind turbine. And it so happened that because of strong wind, the turbine got broken. So the technology was not very robust probably at that time. But I think from there, we have moved quite a bit in the sector. And by late 90s or early 2000, we started implementing uh, solar wind biomass hybrid projects in Sundarbans by West Bengal Renewable Energy Development Agency. And these are quite successful till the cyclone, one of the cyclones again destroyed the turbines. So this is something, the turbine blades basically. So this is something that probably is an area of concern in extreme remote places where most of these mini grids have been set up or being planned to be set up. Uh, I I can quote the International Energy Agency, who their modeling believes that almost 50% of the new connections in the sub-Saharan Africa would be from either off-grid or mini-grid. Uh, but I also feel that this community energy model is picking up in the Europe also, though these are not off-grid, these are all grid-connected models, but under the Horizon European Union Horizon 2020 scheme, number of projects are being supported to work out a business model for community energy based mini grid systems, which can also be connected with the grid and see whether local energy can be produced and consumed so as to uh, have more control over the energy generation and consumptions by the local community. So I think in most of the places we are, and different stakeholders are working on different models. So it will be interesting to know and interesting to understand from the 5 presentations that has been lined up in this session, what is happening across the world so that we can learn from each other. And I hope that all our speakers will definitely be sharing some interesting ideas and thoughts. So let me start with our guest from uh, ICEP Japan on agri-photovoltaics in developing countries. His presentation title is Agri-photovoltaics in developing countries by Makoto Tajima. I hope my pronunciation is correct. This one. So, Mr. Tajima, please, you may please go ahead and make your presentation. Just for some housekeeping rules, we'll have 10 to 12 minutes for each of the presentations so that we can have enough time at the end for some question answers. I definitely would have few questions from my side, and I'm hoping that the participants will also have some interesting questions for the different speakers. So, Mr. Tadrima, please.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Palit, for your kind introduction. Okay, my presentation time is 10 minutes or 20 minutes?
You can take around 10 to 12 minutes.
10 to 12 minutes. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll speed up. Okay, I'm Makoto Tajima. working for Institute for Sustainable Energy Policies in Tokyo, Japan. I'm acting as a director, and also I'm a researcher, a senior research fellow. Today, I'm gonna talk about the agrovoltaics. So let me share my screen. Okay, for the next 10 minutes, I'll briefly talk about agrivoltaics or agri-PV. I regard most of you know little or nothing about the agrovoltaics. So please forgive me if some of the things that I will cover are too basic for you. And I'm not particularly focused on development countries' applications, but all the application that I'm going to talk about is applicable to developing countries. So what is agrivoltaics or APB? Simply put, agrivoltaics is a form of land use in which solar power generation and agricultural activities takes place simultaneously on the same land. This concept was first proposed by Adolf Gottsberger, founder of Fraunhofer ISE, or Fraunhofer Institute for Solar Energy Systems in Germany. In 2003, Akira Nagashima, a pioneer of agrovoltaics in Japan, coined the term solar sharing because sun and agriculture share the sunlight, and which is still used. This term is used in Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan today. And Europe, the United States, and South Korea are very active in its research, led by National Research Institute. Probably India too, that I don't know very much. Sorry. And you can see large-scale commercial application in China, France, and Germany. And Japan is leading country in terms of the number of registration. We have more than 3,000 agrivoltaic farms throughout the country, growing over 120 kinds of crops under the PV panel. The installation of agrivoltaics in Japan grew steadily after the introduction of feed-in tariff scheme in Japan in 2012. As of March 2019, Japan has 2,653 agrivoltaic farms registered throughout the country, probably more than 3,000 farms or 900 hectares by now. This area-based statistics is not so large because most agrovoltaic farms in Japan is small scale, less than 0.1 hectare, which is also applicable, I think, to small scale holders in developing countries. Looking at the world, agrivoltaics now spreading at least to 24 countries. It exists in 70 countries in Germany, France, Netherlands, Italy, Spain, Algeria, Chile, the United States, Australia, New Caledonia, Malaysia, Mongolia, China, Korea, Taiwan, and Japan. I think I skipped the, no, I do have India here. And also there are 7 countries which introduction of agrovoltaics is planned. In Vietnam, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Mali, and the Gambia. In this map, the color gradient indicates the long-term average radiation. As you can see, a vast potential residing in the south, like in Africa, but its potential is still untapped. So why is agrivoltaics nowadays attracting so much attention? It's because agrivoltaics is expected to solve various problems that we face today through various environmental and socio-economic services that can provide. Emerging issues are mostly associated with the negative impact of solar PV development and the structural problems in agriculture. That includes increasing land use conflict, decline in biodiversity, and fragmentation and reduction of habitat due to the increase in solar PV plants. And a serious impact of global warming on agriculture. And lastly, decline in agriculture population due to aging farmer populations and unprofitable agriculture as a result. Agrobotics can provide you solution to these problems. Let's look at one by one. It is known that the ideal site for agriculture and the solar PV overlaps. Suitable land for solar PV is now saturating. It is typical and more severe in small mountainous country with little flat land or plain like in Japan. And it will likely happens in Korea and some other European countries. Japan has the least flat land area among 7 countries listed here. Only 34% of the national land area is flat land. So the solar PV density in the flatlands is highest, more than twice Germany in the second place. By using agrovoltaics, you can improve land use efficiency. You utilize land vertically or 3 dimensions. It's like you live in a second-story house. The land is stuck up in 2 stories or tiers. By introducing agrovoltaics in wheat cultivation in Germany, land use efficiency or land equivalent ratio had increased by 60%. Say in the separate production, you only get 100% of each with yield and electricity. Doing this together in the same land, now you get 160% of each. You may think, oh, it's going to inhibit crop growth. No, it's not if you plant carefully. Plants or crops do not necessarily need 100% of radiation. Photosynthesis plateaued out at some points due to atmospheric carbon dioxide limitation. This is called a light saturation point, as you know, which is unique to particular plant. So you can effectively utilize leftover sunlight from the crop growth. So in some cases, detrimental. In some cases, too much sunlight is detrimental to crop growth. Solar PV development causes loss of habitat, hence biodiversity as well. This is the latest study in Japan. In Japan, significant habitat loss occurred in secondary and the industrial forest, artificial grasslands, cropping fields, and rice paddy. So agriculture sector is not negligible. This study's notable findings that the medium-scale PV accounts more for diversity loss than large-scale PV does, at least in Japan. So even small facilities are cumulatively damaging the natural environment. So loss of habitat for pollinators is a real threat to global agriculture too. Evidence is mounting for severe decline in honeybee stocks in many countries. This pollinator-friendly photovoltaics or agrivoltaics is getting popular in the United States to tackle this issue. It is also performed in Spain. The distribution of solar PV and pollinator-dependent farms are almost the same. This is not supplies because the ideal site for both overlaps. Today, this pollinator-friendly agrivoltaics has spread to 15 states in the United States. Climate change affects not only yield of the crops, but also its quality. This is particularly a serious matter for high-value added agriculture produced like French wine grapes. Today, French wine industry is combating the climate change threat. Extreme weather event causes drought, resulting in total or partial loss of crops. But not only that, temperature rise disrupt the established cropping cycle to maintain quality of wine grapes. For wine grapes, you must synchronize harvest with ideal timing of three quality determinants: acid to sugar ratio, flavor, and color. Warmer temperature brought about by climate change is causing this early maturity of grapes, disrupting this synchronization of these determinants. Agrivoltaics mitigate the adverse effect of climate change. This is one example. Matcha is one of the highest quality Japanese green tea. Its price is 10 times more than ordinary tea. There are certain requirements to produce a good quality matcha: proper shading, protection from heat stress, and protection from the frost damage. All of these are costly or ineffective in the conventional culture method. But agrivoltaics provides you easy and more effective and affordable solutions. One major advantage of tea agrivoltaics, of course, is you can secure income while you have no harvest or income from agricultural activities. You can sell the power to the grid. Shading is a key to produce mild, sweet, tender young tea leaves, preventing catechin formation in the leaf, which causes bitter taste. Direct netting is the cheapest way to achieve this, but the net contact the young shoots directly to damage the young shoots mechanically. So it also it creates warm and moist environment under the net, which is ideal for disease propagation. To overcome these problems, you can of course build a netting frame, but it is very costly too. In the agrivoltaic systems, however, PV mounting frame can be used for this netting purpose as well. So there's no need to elect this expensive netting frame. Shade provided by PV panels protect crops from intense summer radiation, and also it protects the crops from frost damage. In Japan, in conventional tea farming, frost protection fines erected and operated 24 hours a day to prevent frost formation during winter. This is also very costly. But in agrivoltaic system, no radiative cooling happens, so you don't have any frost formation under the PV panel. But you have frost outside the panel, as you can see in this picture. Agrivoltaic tea farming have a positive impact on marketing as well. Matcha itself is already high value added product, but agrivoltaics enhanced its value further. Tea agrivoltaic farm that I showed you today started dealing with international market 8 years ago, and now has constant sales to buyers in New York, London, and other international destinations in more than 30 countries. In sum, matcha agrivoltaics is environmentally sound and economically feasible system. You can also use the floating PV for aquaculture. In China, a large-scale aquavoltaics of 320 megawatt already in operation. Annual income from this facility consists of 45 million US dollars from the generated electricity and another 5 million US dollars from aquaculture. Aquaculture can be community scale too, not necessarily big scale. Fraunhofer ISE is planning to build 2 aquavoltaic research plants in Vietnam. So aquavoltaics provides you off-grid aquaculture potential as well. It also benefits electricity generation, aquaculture, and the environment. Okay, I skipped this one. The grazing landscape may soon change this way. This is already taken place in Germany. The bifacial PV panel is vertically erected so that they are free from snow damage. You can place the module as far apart as you need or you wish, say for agricultural machinery operation purpose. And this doesn't add you any cost as like conventional agrivoltaics. This setup translates to increased annual income from electricity generation too. Generation peak comes around midday in the conventional south-faced module setup, while bifacial module facing east and west generates more effectively in the morning and in the evening. Therefore, it matches with peak hour demand, peak demand. So you can get extra revenue from the market. Also, the production of the electricity is more even over the year. The difference in energy output between summer and winter is less than with south-oriented PV systems. In summary, agrivoltaics is a rational land use system to solve environmental and socio-economic issues through multiple services. So agrovoltaics can solve land use conflict by improving land use efficiency, biodiversity habitat loss by conserving biodiversity, negative effect of global warming by adapting to global warming, and loss of low profitability of agriculture by stabilizing or increasing farm incomes. The core nature of agrovoltaics, its capacity to provide multiple solutions makes agrovoltaics applicable to a variety of environments, including developing countries. It can be applied to various types of farming systems in different geography and scale. Even under off-grid settings in South or in developing countries, generated electricity has numerous uses to electrify homes and shops, irrigation pumps, cold storage, mobility, and so forth. Okay, thank you for your attention. Sorry.
Thank you, Azima. You're absolutely in time, this one. And great to know about this agrovoltaics thing. I think in India also some work is being done, but probably we need to do much more. What we are trying to call is this renewable energy should become a responsible energy. So as to also take into account the social and environmental impacts across the value chain, and not just with respect to the production of energy. This one. So thank you very much for your presentations. May I now request Dr. S. N. Srinivas, who was formerly with the REC Foundation and presently a consultant, to make his deliver his presentation.
Thanks, Devajit. Thanks to Shirish, Prasad, and Terry for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on community energy, mini-grid, and microgrid. As Devajit was just in the beginning, was taking us back to 30 years ago. And where do we stand now? I would like to give 2 or 3 of my own examples and put forward a few thoughts on what limitations still exist, what potential we can see, and what perhaps needs to be looked into. So first, 30 years back, it was my first job to work on a mini grid in a village about 100 kilometers away from Bangalore, which is a silicon city in India. My job was to essentially gather the data, documentation, and close the project in 6 months' time. Because the local issues were so unsurmounting that the project could not run. So even the Indian Institute of Science, which developed this biomass-based gasifier system to run the mini grid, they decided no, we cannot move forward. So let us put the learnings together and close. But then, for me, it was a challenge. I was just out of college and thought, no, I'm not here to close a project, but move on more and learn more and see if it can become a solution. But very interestingly, with a lot of efforts, those local issues could be resolved. And the project ran for almost 20 years, even after my exit. I was there for only 3 years period. So in short, I had a direct experience with minigrids about 30 years ago, 15 years ago, and 3 years ago. Now, while I was running this minigrid in this village, Vasahalli, the technology was little tricky at that time, which Debajit very quickly said about the wind turbine. But here it was a biomass gasifier system. That also posed a lot of issues. I'm not going into the details of it, but just worth mentioning that there are a lot of technical issues. But the whole the premier research agency being behind it, we could resolve and continue to work. I can say that 4 to 6 hours in a day, 95% of the days in a year, the power was available in that village. So that was ensured. What did we give at that time? What were the beneficiaries getting? They were getting 2 to 3 lighting points. It's worth mentioning here because no more those needs are, the same. These days it's much more. I'll come to that. And second thing was, when we analyze the cost and the payments, people were not ready to pay for lighting. The cost at that time was about 6 rupees per unit, whereas the neighboring villages were paying 2 rupees. So the question the villagers were asking in this village, let's call project village, why should we pay more? So, but the balance money was being filled in by the project. So as long as this could run, the project ran. But after 20 years, because not subsidized anymore, the project, and also it is always a thought that the technology we hand it over to the villagers. But mind you, whether it is a mini grid, microgrid, or a large power plant, it has all the elements of a power plant: safety, security, operational, the control panels, the distributions, and the issues in the houses. Everything it is a miniature of the issues or miniature of the operations of a large power plant. So large power plant. So that is when that was one of the learning is how do you fill in number one the cost gap. Then so this was 30 years ago. 15 years ago, I was with the United Nations Development Program. We ran a project, little at a higher scale. This time we wanted to run it in about 50 villages and 1,000 kilowatts, a megawatt, and running 20 to 50 kilowatt mini grids. But learning from a neighboring this village about 60, 70 kilometers away, though the project was to run this 20 to 50 kilowatts, then the implementing team was shying away from replicating it. But instead, what they did, they made bigger power plants like 100 kilowatts, 200 kilowatts, and 250 kilowatts, 5 to 6 systems. So to do that, energy plantation was also raised on farm forestry. So in essence, within the village, it was showcased that sustainably the biomass could be catered to run such a mini grid sustainably. Here also, when we checked, when we checked the cost, who will pay for this? The cost of power was almost 8.2 rupees, whereas neighboring villages was paying about 3 rupees. Who will foot this bill beyond the project period? There again, we had an issue. So the mini grid, that experiment ran as a pilot, and then it had to close down. These were the two big, demonstrations which ran very long and learnt a lot, documented a lot in India. I think all the researchers or those who actually try to do a policy, try to do an analysis, these two projects are always referred to, and I had the opportunity to run them. Now, in the beyond 2010, there is a big shift in India that has happened. Solar became cheaper and cheaper, and so the biomass remained at 8 or 9 rupees at a scale of 100 kilowatt. Solar became cheaper, and when I was in Clean Energy Access Network as a uh, chief executive officer, we did an analysis of about 350 installations, 12 mini grid players. So here, almost one interesting thing is many of them ran on solar grids, and most of them actually ran commercial loads, 3,500 commercial loads. So this was running fairly well. If it is only to the normal load of lighting or street lighting, the recovery of revenues was the issue. Once you connect it to the uh, commercial loads, it was, and particularly those projects which are running in hilly areas where reliability of electricity was poor, those are the locations where it was running well. So in essence, if we have to look at what are the limitations and what are the positive things. Limitation, even in solar, when you run a battery, the costs jump. It is about 9-10 rupees or more. I'm sure Debajit and many of you are aware of this cost constraint. Second is area, but we had just a while ago excellent presentation on the farm land being used for multi-purpose. So that is how. Another is the storage. Storage, because the batteries right now, of course, there's a lot of research which is happening. I hope mini grids do get it, and thereby they last longer. Otherwise, the mini grids continue to be a little expensive when compared to the grid electricity. On the positive side is, over the last 30 years, the technology, the distribution, the model of collection, etc. It's now prepaid cards, etc., which has emerged over the last 30 years, have made it quite simple with reference to the technology and system. Second is, another area is, looking at what are the potential ahead. One is, this from just a while ago, which Mr. Tajima explained, this agri pumps. India has almost 30 million agriculture pump sets. 30 million. Out of that, about 20 million is electrical and 10 million is diesel. So that is one big area where that could exactly be run as agrivoltaics. In fact, it was one of my point also, and it was so. I know Mr. Tajima explained it so well. That is one big area because you can run about 100 days is when you want a pump, but rest of the days you can run it on mini grid. Then second thing, India is going big is EV. So if EV has to really be popularized, and India having almost 600,000 villages, and all through, if you vehicles move around, each village can become a supplier of supplier and charger of green electricity to these EV vehicles. So what are the things that, crux of the critical things that are required? One, government also look into the purchasing power, and how can you look at the cost subsidizing if on a short run, if not on a long run. Research has to happen in innovation. In solar cell, there are worldwide, there are already solar cells which are at 35-40% efficiency. We still use about 20%. And storage systems innovation, which can reduce the cost, thereby, and then innovative models. The combine the productive loads with not so much productive loads like street lighting and lighting of domestic lighting. Thereby, it's quite possible to run the mini grid more profitably, competitively, is what I would like to quickly summarize here. Thank you. Over to you, Devajit. Devajit, you are on mute.
Thank you, Dr. Srinivas. And Dr. Srinivas mentioned about the challenges and potential for mini grids in India. I can say one thing that based on our study, we found that the type of mini grids that have been implemented earlier were all, of course, community based, but very small scale mini grids, and probably anything less than 500 kilowatt as far as solar is concerned is not a very feasible idea. This one theoretically you can provide power for productive application, but if everybody starts taking connection for productive application, the developer won't be able to supply them the energy. This one, and the energy price is kept high, so nobody asks for the productive energy for productive application. So that's how the thing is created. This one. So our study says that anything beyond 700 kilowatt, maybe in a sub megawatt scale, things becomes much more cheaper and probably can compete with the grid power, of course, with some bit of policy support from the government in terms of financing, financing from the banks, basically mainstreaming the financing from the banks, considering these also as a micro and small industry type of thing. This one. Let's now move to the third presentation on mobile containerized solar PV solution for high outage area by Nikhil Jatain. So this is something, is a very innovative thing. I had the opportunity to see such a mobile containerized thing in Ethiopia, which is supported by GIZ long back. This one. Then we had one demonstrated in one of the WSDS program. So I hope Nikhil will share much more details about it and how it can help serving the underserved area in India and other places.
Good afternoon, sir. Today I'm going to present a presentation based on mobile containerized PV solution, which is situated in Terry Gurugram campus. I have done a few experiments on its data during my major project. So it is one of the experimental work. I'm going to share it with you. Presently, I am working in Manikaran Analytics Limited as a senior analyst. So I will start. This is the PV container. Starting in this PV container, 300. It's a hybrid. It has a hybrid inverter, and for example, the battery configuration is, it has a tubular gel VRLA battery of 2 volts each. 48 batteries are there, and 300 ampere hour, and capacity rating is C10. And I have calculated the range of bulk voltage in that system, float voltage, and the inverter is of Statcon Energia. It's of 10 kVA and single phase. It has a PV system of modules of Renewables organization. 20 modules are there, each comprising of 365 watt peak of power. And this is the technical configuration of the PV model. The rated power, VOC, ISC, and different the weight, what are the application classes are used, and fire hazard rating C. These are the internal appliances inserted: the lead acid batteries, the hybrid solar PV inverters. During my experiment, I have used 3 kilowatt of additional load for my experiment, which is related to the discharging of lead acid battery. It's a experiment of charging and discharging of lead acid batteries. For that purpose, for additional load, I have connected 3 kilowatts of additional heaters, and the 3 objectives were there. Firstly, I will discuss about the charging and discharging of the lead acid battery bank. And for example, I have said that it's a containerized PV solution. It's a hybrid. It's having a hybrid solar inverter. So it's a type of special purpose vehicle which can be used for remote access areas where electricity grid is not available. So at that position, we can implement these applications there. During daytime, we can use the solar PV panels, and during nighttime, during the daytime, we can charge the batteries, and during the nighttime, we can use the battery as well as the grid. Because after between the PV generation is between morning 7:30 to evening 5 or 5:30. So before morning and after 5:30, we will be using only grid and battery storage. So these are the experimental days on which I did the experiment of battery discharging with additional loads and battery charging with photovoltaic system. So it's a total load PV capacity of 7.3 kilowatt and additional load of 3 kilowatt of heater. So hello.
Yes, sir. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So during the charging process, the PV MCB has been switched on, and the mains grid is kept off. The battery MCB has been kept on, and the load has been kept on for charging process of the lead acid battery. And with the discharging process, during discharging, we have to keep the main grid off, PV system off, battery we have to keep it on, and the load also on. With the help of battery, we can charge the with the help of battery we can discharge the means if grid and PV is off, only the load has been catered by the battery. So after using of the load with the help of battery, it will be getting discharged. So these are the some results. Discharging, battery mode of operation, discharging, the time taken to discharge 300 ampere hour battery. This value has been taken. The time period of values taken is between morning 10:30 to evening 5:30. So during that time period, the battery voltage has been range has been gone from 102 to 91.12, and the ampere hour capacity has been went to 163.175 ampere hours, and the cell voltage remains in this range. So discharging activities, 4 days discharging activities, and these are the 2 days which has been done with the charging activity, and charging took 6 hours 15 minutes, and the battery voltage has been increased. Same with the case of 18th. In this graph, 11th March battery discharging, we can see that the time period taken is from 11:30 to 18 hours, and the battery voltage during the discharge has been going down from 102 to nearly 91 volts, and the charging and in the graph 3 we can see the charging, the battery charging process, in which we can see the battery voltage going from 102 to 110. In which case we can see also average battery current also we can see this during the discharging and during the charging process. We can also see the battery average current. And the second objective is that it's a hybrid project. Battery is available, PV is available, and grid is available. So what are the modes of operations we can use in this activity to make the system operational throughout the day? So first option is when battery is charging, PV is powering the load and grid is not available. Second is grid is powering, PV is unavailable because of some reasons. For example, if rain is there and some extra low sunlight days, and battery is discharging, so only grid is powering. Battery is getting charged, PV is also unavailable, and grid also not available. Means in this case, battery is the only source of powering the load. And D, battery is charging, PV is powering, and grid is also powering the load. In this case, all the three cases are powering the load. And in E, battery is getting discharged, grid is available, and PV is powering. In this, grid and PV is available for powering the load. And fifth, battery is discharging, PV is powering, and grid is unavailable. For in this case, PV is the main source of supply. These are the mode of operations which I have previously described. First mode of operation, we can see that in between the inverter system is there. PV is powering the load and battery is powering the load. The battery voltage, battery current is greater than 0, and PV system current is also 0, and grid is not available. And in third mode of operation also, only the battery is supplying the load, system PV and grid is not available. And in second mode of operations, only grid is available, PV system and battery is not available. In second and in fourth mode of operations, all four systems are available for supplying the load.
Not hear you, Nikhil.
What, sir?
Are you done?
No, sir.
Yeah, can you quickly summarize?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. The number of operations which I have shown. So at that time of installation of this project, we have taken the raw data and calculated all these experiments before which I have shown to you. And these are the number of minutes in a monthly basis which this project has been operated for. Mainly it has been operated with grid, PV and battery. So operation mode number 4 has been operated maximum times. The third objective is to, for example, which source is using, which source of power is providing how much of the capacity of power to make the system run means to cater the kilowatt hour, grid, PV, how much it is using. And for example, as this project is consist of, it has used for economically, it should be economically viable and acceptable to the society, because deep interior unelectrified areas, this project has been will be utilized properly. And on I have calculated the energy amount in kilowatt hours. These are the dates on which we have taken the dates, and for example, battery energy, PV energy, grid, and sum of loads of energy, battery voltage. And when we will combine these two things, battery plus PV, and so for example, on 1st of August, mainly grid has been supplying the load as compared to battery plus PV or individual PV. So likewise, in all the days, this has been done for the month of August 2019. So through this graphically, we can see the power profile, in which previously we can see all four modes of grid load, PV power is also there, and battery power is also there. So we can see that the battery is in floating conditions from the midnight to the morning 7 o'clock. We can see the blue line is the lowermost line, just getting up at 6:38 and comes to the bulk and absorbing charging, because the sunlight comes up and it has been starting to power the load. And at that time, we have been reduced the grid supply. We have switched off the grid supply to mainly make the use of PV, and load has been constantly increasing during the daytime, and PV is also there for powering the load. This is for 29th of February, same case. These are the output, battery plus PV combinedly providing 82.45% of the total energy of that particular day. And on that day, grid is supplying 61.22% of the total energy, and the PV alone is supplying only 50.22% of energy. So we can say that grid and PV are the more powering things on that day. Likewise, all the months has been calculated. So these are the conclusions. During discharging of battery bank, voltage has been varied from 102.2 volts to 90 volts, and it has been increased from 101 to 110 for the charging process. And the least operated mode is when the battery current is negative or zero, PV current is greater than zero, and grid is greater than zero. The number of minutes in which every month is in between 15 minutes to 62 minutes, because at that time this system is in practical mode, checking mode. And these are some of the other conclusions. The battery voltage nears to 108 volt means the battery has not contributed. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Nikhil, for the presentation of the mobile containerized solution, solar PV solution for high outage areas. We can now take up questions. In case any participants or any panelists have any question for the other co-panelists.
Just a question to Nikhil. When mobile container, what is the mode of its transport to? I guess it is for hilly areas. what is the mode of its movement. It can go up to certain this thing, but then there are interior terrains which require, the last mile on the shoulder. Debajit knows it. So how do you plug that last mile issue? Because that's one of the, while this experiment looks interesting, how is optional on this? I know Debajit, you also may be there into it. Just want to have your thoughts, Nikhil as well. Nikhil.
So regarding last mile connectivity, I have not studied much about this, but when we were seeing the application during the project, during the experiment work, so at that time, means we have to take it through trailers, means the container, and we have to keep at a certain height there, the location which has to be electrified, the small area which has to be electrified. So this is the only way we can take there for the system.
So let me try to answer, Srinivas. We tried this thing, not the containerized model, but we implemented a solar projects in one of the remote place in Kenya with University of Oslo and some of the local consultant with support from the Norwegian Research Council. And after the project, we also tried to see what would have been the project cost if we would have done it in a different way. So we try to do a comparative assessment of both from technical side and also from the financial side. And one of the things that that was worked out is that if you had implemented a containerized solution, a PV solution there, then almost the cost for the civil constructions would have come down by almost 70% or something like that. This one, I don't remember the exact number, but it was definitely more than 50%. But then the condition was, that means the condition that or the thing that you asked is that not all places we cannot implement such containerized solution in everywhere in Africa. This one, so places which are nearer to the highways, nearer to roads, this one proper roads. They may be remote, there may be unelectrified village, but there are road transportation is available. Then only we can implement those, and then only the cost will come down. Otherwise, the cost of transporting the containerized solution is much more than the cost of constructing a civil structure there. This one, so we have to take a call depending on where we are trying to put up the solution and what is the best mode to reach there as far as the transportation is concerned, because it's quite a long, 36 feet type of thing. So it's not easy to take it there. So you need this trailer trucks, not the normal trucks also. This one. So I can share with you that those numbers, the report. Of course, the solar prices has now come down drastically. This one, it is a 2012 or 2013 report. But then it can give you a fair amount of idea about what is the type of difference that we had calculated.
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, if I may just mention, because Ibrahim Tukola is at the moment here, he had some connection problems.
Yeah,
so connection is weak. So I suggest we take him now because he dropped out again in between. Just now
okay.
we are connected with him. Thank you.
Okay, it's great that he could connect. So, so Mr. Ibrahim, if you can make your presentation on mini grids for Africa. Mr. Ibrahim is from the Mali POC Center, and Mali is famous as far as energy is concerned for the multifunctional platform that were implemented by the UNDPs. So Mali, energy area, Mali became very famous to the entire world because of the success of the multifunctional platforms.
Okay.
So I will learn something new from Mr. Tagola. So the court is yours. Please go ahead.
Okay.
You have 10 to 12 minutes to make your presentation.
Okay. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I will try now to see if I get a good position to put a video. But in between, I would like to, first of all, to really congratulate World Wind Energy Association, and also congratulate Terry and for these particular moments we have in a world that we keep our family together by organizing this conference. So which is really great. So in Mali Fortune are very active with UNDP on multifunctional platforms running on Jetrofa. We have been working to develop the Sundara press here in Mali, and to the oil, which have been also in part to give energy to unserved communities. And of course, Jetrofa and plant oils get hurted by reduction of the price of the solar and storage. So therefore, we have been moving quite a lot today on solar energy mini-grid. So my company, Access, is one of the leading in mini-grid sectors in solar, and we are operating in Mali. We are operating in Mali, and then we are also doing projects in other parts of Africa. So in we have been quite successful lately in developing. We have a young team of actors, and so we see mini-grid are great opportunities and also some challenges in the mini-grid sectors. I'm trying to see if I can get my video on. I don't. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, I don't. Can someone advise how to put? How can I activate it? How can I activate a video? Because I want to activate a video, but I don't know how to activate a video.
So you
To
share
show
your
a pro-
screen. You run
Yes,
the
sir.
The
video,
video,
on your system and share your screen.
because I don't see it here. I don't know how to bring the video. Okay, so I don't see the sign of the video, but I don't know if the administrator can do something, because only audio is writing, only audio.
Sir, please continue.
Okay, so I will continue with that video. I wanted to have a okay. So we are okay. Sorry. Okay, I saw the place. Okay, good. Okay, perfect. Think now. Okay. So we are as mini-grid developers, Access. We are working on a solar mini-grid. We have two types of activities. I think it was very interesting to see previous presenters presenting about the battery charging and discharge. That is, of course, if one hand, Mali is a country with a lot of sunshine, but Mali is also quite hot country, and so we have the process here in Mali is that Mali put in place a national agency for electrifications called AMADER, and that agency is a place where the project developer go to get the authorizations, and who is also regulating the price for the mini-grid. So when you have authorization from AMADER, you have two options, or you call an EPC to build yourself, or you build and operate yourself based on the regulations. So so we as a EPC, we are doing both. We are mini-grid developers, but also we are mini-grid operators. So, of course, there are quite a lot of challenges, I will say. One of the things that we have been doing as mini-grid developers is to have a human capacity. So we've been training a lot of young people. So we are a company with about 75 people working with us and coming from technicians and engineers. So we are developing our project and we are operating our projects. So, and that's one aspect important, what we have been doing. And then we also have organized our own procurements to get world-class quality equipments from China and from Germany. And of course, one of the aspects here is that the battery, especially lead acid battery, have quite a number of challenges due mainly to the heat here, because the temperature can reach 44, 45 degrees from March to June, and which impacts seriously the lead acid battery. And so we are now working to move to the lithium-ion battery in order to really try to solve these temperatures issues. And the other aspect is that the demand, when you have a mini grid, the demand grow exponentially here. It's very quick grow of the demand, and where you don't have all the time the possibility to get the financing from the bank. So which make it kind of challenging for the battery and challenging for the operator itself and for the communities. So that is some of the what I can say. We have about 50 plus company, mini grid company in Mali today. We have about over those 50 plus company have over near 400 villages electrified. But the villages, I think Stefan visited some of our villages, like a small town, because they are between 6 and 15,000 people. We are providing electricity. So each of the communities have the electrical meters. We are now moving on digitalization. So we have in digital, we are working with some companies, some American companies, some Chinese company, because they have a smart meters, and which we are operating in order to have a prepayment and monitoring and so on. So that's that we have a full team on that, prepaid systems. Our next step is to work to make really our mini grid cashless mini grid. So all can be paid with mobile money, and so there will not be any money on the ground. It's not the case yet, but that's our project in next year. So we can get a mini grid operating mainly on fully digitalized systems. So the main challenge for us, of course, here in Mali, I don't know how it's in India and other places, is about the tariff, because we are almost 2 times more expensive than the national grid, which put us a lot of pressure, because the government would like us to see the tariff going down. The community are complaining as well, which is understandable, because if you have same electricity, but the difference is that the national utility, which are half tariff on ours, have a huge subsidies compared to us, and that creates some issues. So it's good also to say that we are experiencing with VVA and World Wind Energy partners. We are starting the community energy project. That we are now 2 community energy projects with our German partners. One with the German cooperatives to provide water for gardening inside our mini-grid area, so with the solar. And the second project we have is with German individuals to provide the productive use loans, microloan, to the productive users of electricity in our mini-grid area. These are quite important because it's create a more income generation for communities based on when it's gardening, when it's productive users, blacksmiths, carpenters, barber, and so on. So that we are working on that, and we are doing those in the mini-grid sector. So I don't know, maybe there will be some questions. I don't know how is the line quality from your end. I'm sorry for today's line is really not so great here. Sorry for that quality. Sorry for being delayed. And again, congratulations to Vivia and also to our friend from India, and for having me on this for the short presentation. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Togola. In case there are any questions by anyone, by the participants or by the co-panelists, you can please ask this one, and you please mention who the question is directed to. So if while you are thinking about the question, I have a question for Mr. Ibrahim. This one. So is the mini-grid, are the mini-grid sector regulated in Mali the way it is many of the West African countries are including mini-grids in their regulation? Whether it is the
Can you
case,
again please repeat the question?
Yeah, so I'm asking.
Can you repeat the question again, please?
Yes, I'm asking whether the mini-grid sector is regulated by the Mali Electricity Regulatory Authority, the way many of the other West African countries are doing it, or it is it is still unregulated, the way it is in India.
Let me close the door here because I don't hear you really so well. But I will switch off the camera so I could have.
Yeah. So I'm asking whether the mini-grid sector is regulated in Mali or not.
Yes. Yes. Mini-grid sector is regulated. We have the regulator in Mali on mini-grid sector called Malian Agency for Electrification. So they are the one who are giving the electricity authorization. In order for someone to give electricity to third party, you need to have authorization. So yes, we have any mini-grid operators must have approved his locations and his activities by the National Agency for Electrifications. And the tariff must be approved as well by the National Agency for Electrifications.
Okay, thank you. And they can implement the mini-grid where the grid supply is already there. Like in Nigeria, they are implementing a model called under the grid mini-grid.
No, we don't have. That is what we have been. Just yesterday, we had a meeting on that, and that is a big challenge here now. That we still have a good. We don't have a good cohabitation. There is a grid. It's mean when a grid come to your area, the grid operator, which is a national company, will compensate you, and you have to leave. Yeah, that is the issue. So we are now working how. Can we be the partners or the buyer in terms of payment contract between the mini grid operators and a national grid utility company? But this is not effective yet. Still now, we still don't have that law. Like I think the Senegal passed that law. I think Nigeria also, but we don't have that in Mali.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions by others?
Yeah.
Any questions? The other panelists or any participants?
If
No?
I may just
So-
if I may.
Yeah, please.
Yes, it's great to have you together here from different corners of the world. So I'd like to
Yeah.
understand a bit what are the you talked about mini-grid in India, and then Ibrahim, you talked about the mini-grid in Asia. I would like to in Africa and in Asia. So what are the common challenges, and where are the differences between the situation in different countries, to get from my global perspective a better understanding of, can we say, these are general challenges and these are specific challenges? If I may ask just across the panel, what you perceive as what are common challenges and what are specific challenges.
If I may, one common challenge is the cost. I think Mr. Ibrahim explained that his costs are almost double the grid tariff. That is one. But one good thing that I saw, Mali Electricity Authority has regulated. That means they approve the costs. Whereas here it is always a tricky, skirmishes within the community. That kind of a regulation may bring in some kind of a help, but it might also restrict. I'm not too sure how it would work. But definitely one common thing between all of us is the cost of production, in a sense, the tariff levied to the people. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Ibrahim.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Pali.
No, I'm asking you if you would like to add something.
Yes, I think I fully agree with Mrs. Srinivas. One of the challenge, of course, for the community when you are providing electricity, both sides look at one thing. As a developer, project developer, you look at your income stream. You make an investment, you have to get your payback. And as a consumer, you look at how much you are going to pay to get that service. You pay for it. And in between, you have the one big elephant, which is national utility, which is super powerful, who's everyone is scared of because the national authority gives them money, they get subsidy from here and there. They even don't count money, and they have the tariff, and which is artificial tariff, and you are giving the real tariff in order to provide your service. So at the end of the day, you are doing a lot of effort, extremely a lot of effort, but everyone blame you that you are too expensive. And no one blames the national utility that they are getting money of citizens in their pocket, So, and they're getting free money. And they can cut power. In Bamako here, we can, in March, April, from March to August, we can get 6-hour electricity cut. Everyone has a genset. Everyone is running his own genset or have the solar roof. They make additional investment, and no one understands his invoice because they put what they want. If you don't pay, they come to cut you as a national utility, and you don't have anywhere to complain. As a mini grid operator, when you cut electricity for 30 minutes, community come to your powerhouse and start to blame you. And then if you cut 2 hours, they will say, okay, next month we don't pay you, or you have to cut, you have to take it out. So it means you when you give invoice, people come to ask why you give this. They didn't. So you are on a fire all the time. Dispute all the effort you do. So it's just a kind of we call sometimes in the office that is not fair. But that is how you are small, the other one is but bigger, and you don't have anyone behind you, and then the other one have a state behind them. So that is in my view, it's very challenging business. Therefore, we are making everything digital. We are making everything now cashless. So and everything prepaid, so that means the power plant will operate, and don't know anyone. You don't pay, you don't get a kilowatt hour, and we are paying in advance and so on. So that is, we are working hard on that to make that investment. So if our friend in India are advanced on that, I will be happy, Stefan, if you can pass my contact, if we can really learn from India, because India is very digitalized countries, but we are learning on that to really build our platform and move digital. So we'll be very happy to, in that conference later on, to get in touch with anyone who is more advanced, so we can learn and we could cooperate on that.
If I may add, Stefan, about the challenge that you just asked, a common challenge across, whether it is Sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, or for that matter, Southeast Asia, is the government. The mini-grid is still not considered a mainstream platform or solution for enhancing energy access. So whether it is the international agencies like the IEA or IRENA and others doing their computer-based modeling exercise and projecting 50% in the new energy connections would be through mini grids, or 70% through off-grid or whatever and whatnot. This one, it is not reflected in the ground, and that's something that we, one of the professors from UK and I brought out very clearly in our paper. This one, so it just both the things doesn't match this one. So the first challenge is to address this point, working with the national governments, so as for them to consider mini grids also as a means of electrification along with the national grid. Once that is done, then we can address the other problems. The tariff is a big problem because the national grids almost in every country are cross-subsidized, whereas the mini grids are not cross-subsidized. So how can you make the the game same for both the players? This one. So this is one challenge we have to address. For example, we were in Senegal, and there are a large number of mini grids which are supported by ZIZ and other stakeholders in Senegal, and the price difference between the national grid and the mini grids are almost 3 to 4 times the tariff. The grid tariff was almost 4 times less than the mini grid tariff that were being charged by these private sector mini grids. And suddenly one fine day, some official announced that we are planning to harmonize the tariff. And that particular statement brought the death knell for the mini grids in the private sector there. And after that, no private sector entity wanted to maintain or rectify the mini grids if something has gone wrong, because there is no clarity whether they are going to cross-subsidize the tariff, or it was just a statement for the purpose of making a statement. And that's exactly the same thing what is happening in India, and you will find the similar things happening in other countries also. This in Tanzania, for example, which had excellent mini grid policy, but somehow the mini grid policy was changed, and things are not proper now. Now Nigeria is the hot favorite country of the mini grid developers because they have a policy of under the grid mini grid. I don't know how long it will be there. This one. So I think we need some clarity in the mini grid sector, so that this mini grid is also considered as a mainstream model for enhancing energy access along with the grid. And we plan in such a way that if case the grid is extended to those villages, how can we interconnect the mini grids with the grid? And now the technologies are available, we can easily do it. And if we can have a policy on similar lines, then things would be much clearer, and finance and investors would be will find it easier to finance this one. Otherwise, unless there is a clarity, the investors are not coming forward.
Thank you very much.
I cannot agree more on that. I think it's very clear, Mr. Palinka. That is what Mr. Strauss said, that you said is Nigeria is good. Mali is good, but now it's really getting quite complex. I think we have been discussing with the World Bank here on Wednesday to yesterday only to really ask them to intervene because the state continue heavily to subsidize national utility company, and while we are dealing with people with lower income, and we are asked to make an effort to bring our price down, but there are not any thoughts how can we support us financially. So that's, I think it's like there are two types of electricity for the national utility, which is very unreliable and very expensive, but heavily subsidized. I think Mali is almost around 500 million a year, 500 million euros a year subsidies to the utility company, and it's growing every year by almost 20% amount of money that the state put there. While we are providing electricity today to close to 100,000 people, all the mini grid operators, we get we don't have zero subsidies. So that's quite a challenge, I would say, for the sectors, and we have to keep working on it, but it's not easy.
Mr. Tazima, you would like to add something? And after that, Dr. Srinivas, and then we can close. No? So Dr. Srinivas, probably you can go ahead.
Just I just echo what Debajit said. Though it was, I go back to 30 years, but definitely there was a, this argument that happened between the Karnataka distribution company, which said, in their statements that we are at that time the cost of mini grid was 6 rupees, and paying in the village was 2 rupees. What the distribution company said is our cost to deliver electricity at the doorstep in the village that you're working or around is 9 rupees. Okay, so us along with the rural development secretary, we went and met the managing director of distribution company, said, okay, fine, you island this area and give us 9 rupees, not even 9 rupees, give us 7 rupees. Okay, we will ensure that the power is given to the people at 2 rupees. Okay, this discussion went on. Okay, even today it has not been resolved, Debajit. So that did not happen. But the day that happens, whatever the bureaucracy or the DISCOM says, okay, this is the cost of delivery to the rural household with the grid, and we'll offer the same parity in price to the mini grid. I can tell you hundreds and thousands of mini grid players will be there. Mini grid will flourish. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. That's spot on.
Yeah. Will agree.
So any last thoughts by Mr. Tazima or Nikhil? Very quickly.
No, for me it's fine.
No? Okay. So I think
attended.
Yeah. Please go ahead quickly.
This is my first time experience of seeing and attending a conference. So it was an enlightenment for me to connect with different people of different means areas of interests and of different countries. From this, we got to know what are the challenges and what are the benefits of the different countries as compared to the Indian societies. So that's what I want to share, sir. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me and giving this opportunity.
Thank you. So I think we are already 5 minutes delayed. This one, so we can stop the session here. And thank you very much to all the speakers for sharing your thoughts and insights. And I'm sure all the participants must have learned something new and something to take from this particular session. Thank you, World Wind Energy Association, for giving me this opportunity to moderate this session and also share my thoughts. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening or afternoon, wherever you are.
For a great
Same
panel.
to you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.